For 10 long years, Lucas stood by the same clock in Manhattan, clinging to a promise Sophie once made. Just when his hope was fading, she finally returned, but not with the joy he dreamed of. Instead, she carried a truth heavy enough to break the man who never stopped waiting. The moment their eyes met under the ticking clock, love, pain, and time collided. What Sophie revealed would change everything Lucas believed about waiting, love, and sacrifice. Every evening, the streets of Manhattan filled with people rushing home, their shoes clicking against the pavement. But Lucas was never in a hurry. At exactly 7 o'clock, he stood by the old clock near the corner of Fifth Avenue. The clock was tall, black iron with golden hands that had ticked faithfully for decades. It wasn't just a clock to him, it was a memory. 10 years ago, beneath its ticking hands, he had met Sophie. Her voice was soft, her eyes carried sadness, and her smile felt like light breaking through clouds. She told him her heart was trapped in a broken marriage, but she promised she would return to him one day once she was free. Lucas believed her. Every evening since then he had waited. The clock became his companion, its steady rhythm the only proof that he wasn't foolish for hoping. People laughed at him, called him a dreamer, but he never left. He told himself that promises, if real, had no expiration date. The years stretched on like shadows. Friends moved on, lovers came and went, but Lucas's life froze at the base of that clock. At first, he was full of faith. His chest swelled with warmth at every passing minute, certain Sophie would appear any day. But as months turned into years, doubt clawed at him. Was she really coming back? Or had she chosen her husband over him? Some nights, he wanted to stop waiting, to free himself from the heavy chain of her promise. Yet each time the thought came, he imagined Sophie's eyes, the way they looked at him that night, like he was her only safe place. That memory kept him prisoner. People in the city whispered his story, calling him the man of the clock. Some pitied him, others mocked him, but Lucas didn't care. The clock was all he had, and Sophie's return was his only dream. Then one evening, as the golden hands touched 7, the impossible happened. Through the crowd of strangers, Sophie appeared. She was older now, her face lined with time, but her eyes, those same haunting eyes, had not changed. Lucas's heart pounded so hard he thought it would break through his chest. She walked toward him slowly, her lips trembling as though carrying a truth too heavy to speak. He wanted to run to her, to hold her, to ask why it had taken so long. But something in her face stopped him. It was not joy. It was sorrow. "Lucas," she whispered, her voice shaking. "I shouldn't have come." His breath caught. Questions swirled inside him like a storm. Was she still married? Did she never love him at all? Or was the truth far darker than he ever imagined? The air around them grew heavy, and even the clock seemed to hold its breath. They sat on the cold stone bench by the clock. Sophie's hands shook as she spoke. "I wanted to come back years ago, but I couldn't. My husband, he found out about us. He never forgave me. He kept me locked in that house with his silence and his rage." Her voice cracked, her eyes filling with tears. "I thought I would escape, but I couldn't. He only died last year, Lucas. That's why I'm here now." Lucas stared at her, torn between joy and pain. She had chosen him, but only because death had freed her. His heart bled at the thought of her suffering, but another part of him screamed with anger. 10 years had been stolen from him. 10 years of waiting, of loneliness, of hope turned to ashes. He didn't know whether to hold her or to push her away. Sophie reached for his hand, but he froze. "Why didn't you fight harder?" he whispered, the words bitter on his tongue. Her silence was louder than the city around them. Lucas rose to his feet, the clock striking 7:15 as though marking the end of something sacred. Sophie stood too, her tears falling freely now. "I came back because I thought you were still waiting," she said softly. "But maybe I was wrong." Lucas's chest tightened. He had waited for her, every day, every night, through storms and loneliness. But now, faced with the truth, he felt hollow. The dream he had carried for 10 years no longer fit reality. Sophie was free, but Lucas was no longer the same man who had loved her under that clock. He looked at her one last time, his voice calm yet broken. "I waited, Sophie. But somewhere along the way I lost myself." He turned and walked into the crowd, leaving the clock ticking behind him. Sophie's sobs mixed with the sound of the city, as the golden hands kept moving, uncaring of the hearts it measured.